everyone, and welcome back to Mr. Smith's YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be continuing our lessons and series on arrays. So in the first video I did an introduction to arrays, kind of gave you an idea about how it's similar to a pillbox and you can store a lot of the same data into an array. So it's a series of stored points instead of just creating a variable for each and every data type that you have. So today we're going to move forward and we're going to look at the lab. In the introduction video, I actually set up the lab and worked through parts of number 1 for you. So in this video, I'm going to finish number 1, then move on to number 2 and number 3. Alright, so let's get right into it. So first thing you should do is make sure you have the lab up. That way we're all kind of just looking at the same thing here. So we were working on number 1, create an array to store 5 names, have the user enter in the 5 names, and then print out the names in all uppercase. Alright, note that the user may not enter all the names in uppercase. So if you pull up your lab, I showed y'all how to create a main method and then make it modular. Alright, so that means that to make it modular, we actually we created a method for each one of our problems. So problem 1 was the first one we're working on, and so far I like to always put a little print statement so that we know which one we're working on. And then we started the implementation and we wrote a for loop to have them enter in the 5 names. So I'm just going to run it to kind of show you where we're at. So when we run this, it says problem 1, please enter name, John, Jim, Jack, Jeff, Frankie. I don't know. Alright, so we're at the point where we've entered in all 5 names, but now we actually need to print them out in uppercase. Alright, so this first for loop allows you to enter in the 5 names. Now we need a for loop to print the arrays. Alright, so we need a for loop to print the arrays. So every good programmer, their best skill is their ability to copy and paste. Alright, so I'm just going to copy and paste that for loop that I've already built. Now I'm going to go in here and just change what's on the inside. So I'm going to change the implementation inside of that for loop. So here in the first for loop, we are scanning in 5 names. Now we need to print them. Alright, so a print statement. Let's just start there. So print statement. But what are we going to print? Well, we want to print the array, and my array is called name array. And then we want to print the array at I every time. Alright, so I is our iterator, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll print the indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So to show you that that works, if I run this, Jesse, John, Jack, Jeff, Jared. There we go. I got 5 J's. See? Alright, so it stores the 5 names, then it prints them out for me. But now the lab wants us to actually print them in all uppercase. So to do that, basically we need to think to ourselves, okay, I have this array of strings, so every time I'm accessing this array, I'm pulling out a string so I can use string methods on it, or string operations. So if I just do my little period here, I can see everything that I can use, and I will notice that there is a method called toUppercase. So I just call name array at I dot toUppercase, and that's all I have to do, guys. So Bob, Brett, Bernie, oh, I'm struggling for more B names, Bertha, Beth, there we go. Alright, and then it prints all of those in all uppercase. So that's all problem 1 asked you to do, so it is done. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a print statement after our call to problem 1. So that way we just have some nice spacing in between our problems. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for each one of these. Just adding a blank print statement so it'll skip a line in between problems. Alright, so let's look at problem number 2 real quick. So if I pull the lab back up, create an array to store 3 boolean values entered in by the user. All right, so let's just start from the beginning. Create an array of 3 Boolean values. All right, so our procedure for creating an array is Boolean, then the brackets, then the name of it. So I'm going to just call it bool, or wait, it's an array to store 3 Boolean values. So I'm just going to call it bool array because it's just Booleans in there. And I'm going to say it's equal to new, and then you need the type again, and then the brackets. All right, the only thing we're missing is the size, so let's take a look back at our lab. The size is 3. All right, so 3. So we have done create an array to store 3 Boolean values. We've done that part. Now we need to enter those values by the user. So again, guys, whenever you need to enter information and store it into the array, or if you need to print the information within the array, we're gonna need a for loop. All right, so like whenever you're just doing each box of the array, it's gonna be a for loop. All right, so for int I is equal to 0, I is less than, and we always do the length, so bool array dot length, and then I plus plus. All right, so as long as you go from, forgive me for using square brackets. All right, as long as you go from 0 to the length of the array, you're going to get every single index in the array. If you were to start this at 1, you would have to say equals to the end of the array. All right, but it's just not smart to start it at 1. Do it from 0 to the length. Okay, so now we need to have them enter in a Boolean value. So we're going to prompt them. We're going to prompt the user and say, please enter true or false. All right. Please enter, and I'm going to make this a print, not a print line. That way they can enter it right next to my prompt. And I'm just going to store it in the array. So again, we use the name of the array, and then I is going to be what's iterating every time. So the first time the loop runs, it'll store it in index 0, then it'll increment, then it'll store it in index 1, it'll increment, store it in index 2. All right, and remember our size is 3, so on this one we just have 0, 1, and 2. That's it. All right, so equals keyboard.next. All right, I don't know if we've used next bool a whole lot. And there's actually, oh, there it is, next boolean. All right, so make sure you're using .next boolean on the scanner. All right, so this should, let's just run it and see. Let's see what happens. All right, so Bob, Jeff, John, Jack, Brera. All right. All right, and then it skips a line and goes into problem number 2. So true, false, true. All right. So one thing I do want to do, guys, remember on the first one we did a print statement. So I want to make sure I go up here and just do a print statement saying that this is problem 2. Just to be consistent. And also, we don't really need to do anything with problem 1 anymore. So we can go down here and comment that one out. All right, so if you go down here and just add the 2 forward slashes next to problem 1 and next to the print statement, it'll skip that and just start with problem 2. So watch, when I run it now, all right, it goes straight to problem 2. And this allows us to test it faster without having to type in everything for problem 1. All right, so we have entered in our true false values. So if we take a look at the lab again, create an array to store 3 Boolean values entered in by the user, print out yes if all the values are true, and no if at least one is false. All right, so that means we need to keep track of if each one is true or if each one is false. All right, we know that this array only has 3, right? It has 3, so this is going to be pretty easy.
what we're going to do, so here in this for loop, we fill the array. So now we need to look at the array. So we're going to say if bool array at 0 is equal to true, sorry, lowercase, true, and bool array at 1 is equal to true, and bool array at 2 is equal to true. Alright, so basically we are looking at all three values that were entered in by the user. Alright, so true, true, true. If they're all true, our lab says to print yes. If at least one is no, or if at least one is false, so let's go ahead and print that yes. So yes. So if at least one is false, well, that's our else. So else we're gonna print no. So let's see if it works. All right, I'm gonna run it. Please enter true or false. You know, guys, I'm actually gonna make this lowercase because that's a little more accurate. So lowercase t and lowercase f. So I'm gonna pull back up my output. Red square cancels the run. Green arrows starts again. All right, so true, true, true. Oh, misspelled it. Let me run it again. True, true, true. And it prints out yes. False, true, false. Prints out no. True, true, false. Prints out no. Alright, so this program works. Pretty simple. Created a Boolean array, stored three values entered by the user. Check to see if they're all true, print yes. If any of them are false, print no. Alright, and we are done with number 2. So now that we've tested it, we can go ahead and go comment that out in our main method. So that way we don't have to worry about testing problem 2 anymore. And we can move on to problem 3. So on problem 3, create an array to store the following words: fire truck, fire drill, fire hydrant, firefighter, fireproof, fire station, fire hose. Print out the contents of the array without the word fire. This sounds fun. Alright, so the first thing I notice here is it's telling us what to put in the array. So far we've always had the user input the values. This time we already know the values up front. Alright, it's fire truck, fire drill, fire hydrant, firefighter, fireproof, fire station, fire hose. So what type of array is that? That's the first thing you have to ask yourself. What type of array? Well, these are all words, so they're strings. Alright, so let's create a string array. And alright, string array. So to do that, we have to say, alright, remember the first thing, guys, let's add that little print statement saying that we're on problem number 3. It's just good programming. Problem 3. Alright, so a string array, string, brackets. I'm going to call it fire array because the word fire is in all of it. Equals, alright, this is where it's different. If we already know what goes in the array, we can do squiggly bracket like this, and then we can just insert everything, and you're going to separate it using a comma. So the first word, so fire truck and then fire drill. Fire truck, then we say comma, fire drill, then comma, then fire hydrant, firefighter, fire hydrant, firefighter, fireproof, fire station, remember these are strings, so you gotta have your double quotes. Fireproof, fire station, fire hose. Fire station, fire hose. Alright. Oops. Make sure you do a squiggly. I missed the squiggly. I accidentally hit parentheses. Alright, so this is how you can set up an array if you know all the values ahead of time. So I knew that it was fire truck, fire drill, fire hydrant, firefighter, fireproof, fire station, fire hose. So I just make the string array, and then I do the squiggly brackets, and I comma delimit them, so I separate them with commas, and that's how we make a string array with everything.
All right, so what it wants us to do, let's look back at our lab now that we've made that gorgeous array. Print out the contents of the array without the word fire. So we're trying to remove the word fire. Wow. This is going to be fun, right? Why is this going to be fun? Sit there, let's look at these words. So the first one is fire truck, but it's all one word. The second one is fire drill, but it has a space between fire and drill. So that's going to complicate things just a little bit. And there's multiple ways to do this. So if y'all remember a little while ago, we did string operations. So we're going to need to use string operations to make this happen. So like substring or, I mean, there's several different ways, but I think I'm going to use substring here. So there's two different scenarios here. There's if it's one word, else it's two words, right? If it's one word, else it's two words. So I'm going to start with the if. So if, so we're going to need a for loop because we got to do this to every word, right? So we need to go through the array, so we know we're going to need a for loop. So for int I equals 0, I is, oh, I missed my equal sign, equals 0, I is less than fire array dot length, comma, not comma, semicolon, I plus plus. All right, there's our for loop. So this is going to allow us to look at the first word, then the second word, then the third word. All right, so what we want to say is if the word. So how do I get the word? Well, I have to say the array at I. That'll be whatever the current word is. If that is equal to, well, no, hold on. We need the substring first. So if the substring from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, or 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're trying to get to that E. That E, remember, index of string starts at 0. So E is at 0 is F, 1 is I, 2 is R, 3 is E. So I want to check from 0 to 3 and see if that is equals to fire. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm saying I'm going to take the array. I have I here, so we're just going to look at the first one, then we'll look at the second one, etc. But if from 0 to 3 is equal to fire, then we want to fire array at I dot. All right, so let's look at our string methods that we can use here. I was hoping there would be a remove, but there's not. So we don't have a remove, so I think what we're going to have to do, guys, is we're going to have to do another substring. So we're going to have to say fire array at I is equal to fire array at I dot, and then we're going to do the substring, but this time we're going to just put 4. All right, and I'm going to tell you what's happening here. So if I pull up paint, and we have this word fire truck is what we're doing. All right. So when I'm using substring, the first time I call it, all right, remember this is position 0, and I is 1, R is 2. Okay, I gotta make these. Gotta make my font a little smaller, don't I? Here we go. Let's make it like 18. All right. That was just a test. All right. So F is at 0, I is at 1, R is at 2, E is at 3, T is at 4, R is at 5, U is at 6, C is at 7, K is at 8. Alright, so the first time I used substring, I went from 0 to 3. So 0 to 3 gives me F-I-R-E. Alright, so then when I'm trying to resave this without the word fire, I'm saying create a substring starting at position 4. So if we create a substring starting at position 4, it's going to give us the t all the way to the end. So from 4 to 8, t to the end. All right. So that's what I'm doing here. All right. Then our next one is going to be it's going to be the same idea, but we have that space. So we've got to move one more over. So we're just going to say fire array at I is equal to fire array at I dot substring, but now it's 5 because we have this space to account for. All right. So it either starts with fire and then a new word or fire space new word. The if handles the fire new word, the else handles the fire space. All right, so at this point, we're done altering our array, so we need to print it out. How do we print out an array? Well, we need another for loop. All right, so again, to print, every time you want to print, you need a new for loop. So I equals 0, I is less than fire array dot length, I plus plus. Then in the array, we are just going to print, and we're going to print fire array at I every time. But then let's go ahead and add commas between plus comma, just so we can see a nice spread out array. All right. So let's test this one. Not 100% sure this will work. I'm just kind of, I'm walking through my brain process and my steps here, but I hope it'll work. Remember, right here is problem 3 is the only one active, so it's the one that will run. All right. So it looks like it works, except I'm missing the T on fire truck. All right, and drill works, hydrant works. I'm missing the F on fighter. So that actually means that right here, I needed to start this at 3. Oh, that makes sense, because 0, 1, 2, 3 will give me fire. So I want to start after the 3. Alright, so let's make sure. No, that does not work either. If from 0 to 3 is equal to fire, that's what we want, right? F-I-R-E. Then the array, now this should be 4. That should be 4. But why is it not going into here? It's going to the else every time. If fire array I, the substring of that value is equal to fire, then you should do this. Huh. So station, it looks like all the ones with our spaces. So station, hose, hydrant, drill. Hydrant, station, hose, drill. Hydrant, station, hose. Those all work. But we're missing one of the letters in. So what I'm going to do, guys, so this is all this is the. Okay, so if I remove the else there, this is all debugging. I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. All right, so if I remove the else and I click run, it gives me the original array. All right, so that means that my if statement is not happening. This is not occurring for some reason. So let me print out my condition. So I'm going to print this out to see what it gives me. So system.out.println, and I'm going to print out this without the dot equals. I just want to see what substring it's pulling for me, if that makes sense. Alright, so for some reason the substring is FIR. Not sure why. 0, 1, 2, 3. So I guess this substring needs to go to 4. Alright, so if I run that now, it does get the whole word fire. Alright, so I'm going to change this to 4 now. And when I run it, I get truck, drill, hydrant. Okay, but now I'm getting an extra space on this one. So should this be 6? And oh, I'm getting the space because I put a space here. Truck, drill, hydrant, fighter, proof, station, hose. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, so it works, guys. We removed the word fire, exactly what we wanted to do. Messed up a little bit, but you got to see exactly how I go in and debug when something goes wrong. So I took my condition and I printed it out to see exactly what it was doing. I wanted it to find fire. It was finding FIR. So then I had to adjust the code to make it work. And guess what? Now it works. We removed the word fire from every position in the array. Alright, so that's it for this video, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to be posting another video here in a couple of days. It's going to be looking at decimal format and making an array of doubles. So that's coming up, and we will be working on that in my class. If you could, please make sure you go to my socials and subscribe. So I do have an Instagram, I have a YouTube, and I have a Twitter. Please follow those as I'm trying to build up my social accounts. And always, guys, I appreciate subscribes, likes, and shares. I appreciate you. Thank you. See you next time.